All right, everybody. It is week 8. It is Halloween. I am not feeling well. I have strep throat, but I am with you because I'm that dedicated to the Browns. And now, usually my dad is with me or Mike Ristano. However, both of them were not available tonight. So I went to the bullpen and I brought in the lefty. Actually, I'm pretty sure he's not left-handed, but Jonathan Schlegel, you guys know him as the channel's moderator and unofficial lawyer. Jonathan, welcome for the first time to Brownie Postgame.
Thank you. I appreciate the platform. This is an amazing honor. I couldn't ask for anything more. I'm looking forward to the game myself. I've been out trick-or-treating with my kids. I've seen a lot of dads out there, like myself, wearing Browns paraphernalia, and this is in Columbus, Ohio. I'm seeing a lot of dads with Brown stuff, and in Columbus, as if anybody knows, Columbus is 40% Browns, 40% Bengals, and then about whatever the remainder is, if you're good at math, Steelers fans for some reason or another. And all I'm seeing is Browns paraphernalia. So Browns people still have heart. The Bengals people aren't too happy right now. So that's all I saw. However, all the Browns people are pretty down on their luck right now. None of them are feeling too confident about this game, is what I heard from my man on the street reports.
Well, I feel very similar. Now, typically with the in the Joe Burrow years here in Browns Bengals, we've done pretty well, but that was with Baker Mayfield. I don't know how we're going to be doing now with Jacoby Brissett. We got a lot of guys that are injured as well, so this is going to be a really interesting game tonight.
I'm wondering if the difference in the previous years has been Baker having the Bengals number, or random chance that the Bengals just didn't show up those games. Or is it that Stefanski just coaches in a way that just beats the crap out of whoever's the Bengals' current coach is? They just fired a last one and got a new one, but
I think the Browns they're not intimidated by the Bengals. I think they show up to play against them for whatever reason. I know Denzel Ward always likes to play against them. Joe Hayden, who is retiring as a Brown, always used to love going up against the Bengals to go up against AJ Green back in his prime. So I mean, it's the in-state rivalry, it's the AFC North thing, but who knows? I mean, this year has just been kind of a walking disaster. So, I mean, I'm looking at, it looks like Perion Winfrey is a healthy scratch. Joe Hayden Gross says. JOK is not
with Perion Winfrey anyway.
He's just like never I mean, what is he, like a 5th round pick, something like that? I mean, that's all he is.
I get it. You don't expect him to be there, but what the hell? Like, he was all in the social media, and Browns were showcasing him as a big scary dude, and then what has he done?
Big whopping nothing. Looking at the other guys out, Joe Haig is out again, offensive tackle. David Njoku is not playing. That was to be expected. He didn't practice all week. Wyatt Teller is out. That's not good. He's still got the calf issue, which I don't know if it's a calf issue or if it's high ankle sprain at this point. I'm not sure. Denzel Ward is out. Greedy Williams.
Wyatt Teller being out sucks more than Denzel Ward, honestly, at this point, I think. And maybe that's showing my stupidity, but no,
they're probably equally as bad. And also JOK is out as well. He was questionable. He did not practice most of the week with the knee injury that he suffered last week. So it's just, guys, we are hamstrung, okay, this week. I don't even know if Jadeveon Clowney's going to play. I'm not sure. So he was limited in practice. He didn't practice on Thursday, limited Friday and Saturday. So I don't know if Jadeveon's going to play. But with some extremely important players like Njoku, Wyatt Teller, Denzel Ward, JOK all out. Here's the interesting stuff for the Cincinnati Bengals. Jamar Chase is out today.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
He is out.
That's interesting.
Another wide receiver, Stanley Morgan's out, who I don't know much about. And then a defensive tackle, Josh Tupou. I don't know who that is either. He's out. Eli Apple was doubtful. I don't know what the official report is, but the big deal, Jamar Chase being out.
That's wild.
That could be a big deal, but Greg Newsome for us is injured. He's got an oblique issue. He's been limited in practice all week. Denzel Ward is out. Greedy Williams is out, probably.
Who cares if Greedy's out? He's been out for 2 years.
Yeah, and Tyler Boyd went nuts last week for the Bengals. So Tyler Boyd turned out to be, he's a guy who stepped up for the Bengals and is. I mean, he's still dangerous. So I don't know. I mean, real quick, I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat: Robin Kreutzer, Lynn Savage, Hambone, Gary Washington, Mids Plug, Ryan Burlow, Killer Shot 3. Who else we got? Steve Z's in the house. Isaiah Gassina. B Skrills is here. Ray. Who else we got? That seems like that's everybody for now. All the regulars, I should say. The other thing, John, I just ruffled the hornet's nest on Twitter because I tweeted out that all the news media, ESPN and Sporting News, I mean everybody has just picked up the story that Myles Garrett had decorated his house like Stranger Things, but instead of the Stranger Things kids, he used the quarterbacks.
He's been doing that for a couple years now with all the sacks that he's got. That's like the fun thing that he does.
Yeah, it's the thing he does. So I tweeted out, you can do fun, cute things when you're 5-2, but when you're 2-5, like just win games.
Yeah, especially if you haven't had a sack in 3 games, or how long has it been since he got his last sack? Maybe he got one last game, but
they're irrelevant. We've lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So we're losing.
But you know what? I don't begrudge him for doing it at all. He's a pro football player. He wants to have fun, extending himself to the community. That's fine. That's no problem. It's not like he's doing it like on social media, like or like pimping out like, hey, I'm the best in the world. He's just going, hey, I want my the local kids that are Cleveland fans to have a good time, and they'll get a kick out of this. That's fine. And not only is it fine, that's great. I'm all about it. I'm against your take.
And most people have been. Most people have been upset with it. And my response to almost all of them is, I don't care about what your opinion is.
That's fair.
Most people take my tweets way more seriously than I do.
That's
and on the flip side of it, I personally believe that, yeah, you can go out, have fun, do all your stuff, whatever. We're 2-5, right? Killer Shot, he's out. We're 2-5.
Yeah, 2-5 sucks.
And we're probably gonna lose tonight. Let's be honest, guys. Look, we're gonna be 2-6 tonight.
No. I really think, well, maybe we are. But I think there's a good chance that we can still win this game. The Bengals, didn't they just lose to the Steelers?
No. Bengals. Let's take a look at the Bengals schedule.
I think the Bengals.
Shall we? No, they've been on a tear. They did lose to the Steelers in overtime a couple weeks ago. They beat the Falcons, the Saints. They barely lost to the Ravens 19-17. They beat the Dolphins.
Lost to the Ravens.
They beat the Dolphins. They beat the Jets. They lost to the Cowboys. They got off to a rough start. That was the thing.
They beat the Jets. That's a good team.
They got off to a really rough start. Like, they lost to the Steelers, lost to the Cowboys, then they beat the Jets right after we had that collapse to them. That was the week after. Then they beat the Jets. So, but now they're back on. They beat the Saints and the Falcons. Boom, boom. So they're on a 2-game winning streak. We're on a 4-game losing streak. I mean, you're right. Anything could happen.
Here's the thing. We've got our team as a whole right now. The Browns have a negative 2.6 point differential right now across all the games that they've played. We've lost by an average of 2.6 points. All right. So, like, even now, obviously, the optimists have not been right. We could have won a lot of those games, particularly the Jets game, but and we should be 3-4 or 4-5 or 7-0. It could be, well, except for the Patriots game, they beat us. That's no question about that. But
we had a shot. I mean, at the end of that Patriots game, we had a shot. We ran out of bounds on covering an onside kick that we got.
Right. But even the most pessimistic people, and I mean, probably not a lot of them are in this audience because, like me, we're probably optimistic, and I presume that you are all too. But some pessimists have accurately predicted 2-5 or even 1-6 or 0-7s, but they didn't predict it the way that this is borne out. They weren't predicting 2-5 or 1-6 game records at this point at with like literally like minor differential games. Like, the pessimists thought that we'd be at like losing games hand over fist like the Steelers are right now, where they've got an average differential of 9.6 points per game right now. Think about that. The Steelers are losing every game this season by an average of 9.6 points.
Mm-hmm.
We beat them by 12. If your memory is as bad as mine.
Well, the bottom line is Jacoby's mission was to win 5 games. If he doesn't win 5 games, the season's a wash.
Well, we're running out of time to win 5, and we also, not only that, but we missed a lot of the easy games to win, especially that Jets game.
The Jets game, the Falcons game, the Chargers we should have won. We had 2 gifts and we couldn't execute.
Awful.
So
awful.
it's like, I mean, and I don't blame it all on Jacoby. I'm not saying that it all could fall on him. I think he's certainly somewhat to blame.
He's outperformed his intention.
Other than the last couple games have been ugly, but in all
mistakes. But you're right. But he's outperformed.
I think the Patriots game was really, really bad. I think the Ravens game last week was fine. I mean, I thought he did okay last week. I don't think it was necessarily on the offense. It was on the defense that we lost that game.
Yeah, but you couldn't ask any more from Brissett from last game.
Yeah, I think that it's like anything. I mean, in professional sports, the difference between like a Jacoby Brissett and a Deshaun Watson, or Jacoby Brissett and Pat Mahomes. I mean, you think about it and you're like, oh my God, there's this huge difference between the best out there and a mediocre quarterback. Honestly, there isn't that much. What the difference between those guys is in the moments that they have to be able to execute. They have to be able to make something happen.
Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett does not have the ability to do it. Whereas
you're correct.
Right. But those little moments, those series of moments are the difference between a team like the Chiefs scoring 50 points and the Browns scoring 19. That's the difference.
And that's, let me show you a different stat that I can't show you on the screen right now, but the Browns are losing by a point differential of 2.5 points per game, 2.6 points per game. The 7th ranked team in the NFL, from 7 to 27, that encompasses almost the entire league, except for the very bottom and the very top. From 7 to 27, the point differential goes to 3.6 positive to 3.6 negative. Literally every game is a close game. The difference is who wins those games.
Yeah,
and now you've got the difference of like the Bills, who have a 15-point positive differential because they're just fucking putting points out up there every moment. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But and then you got the Steelers, who are just letting everybody score on them like crazy. But for everybody else, between those two teams, you're right. Like everything you said about the difference between the best and kind of good, the team that's the 7th best team is winning by 3.6 on average. but the next couple teams up just into that excellence category where you're going into these guys are really good, the Bills or everybody else. Those guys are the Chiefs.
Mhm.
Those guys are winning by 12, 15 points, not 3.5, not 4 points a game. They're winning by 12 or 15. That's insanity what the difference is. And it's all because of exactly like you're saying, those moments, those small moments where you don't F up, where you make something happen where somebody else says, nah, we'll just throw it away and punt it. It's that moment that does it. And that's why you have those teams at the bottom and at the top and everybody else. When we're right smack dab in the middle of them, at the bottom middle, but we're in the middle of all these just standard, just push games.
Yeah, and I mean, but that's the difference, and that's why I've been harping primarily. I haven't been harping on Jacoby. I've been harping on the Browns defense because we are way too talented to have games that collapse, and on special teams. And I know that, you know, it shouldn't always come down to like a 58-yard or 60-yard field goal to win a game. That's too much, especially to put on a rookie, right? But you know what? You got to make extra points. You got to make the 45-yarder. A 45-yard kick in the NFL is a makeable field goal. I am sorry. That is.
If you miss too many of those, you should lose your job.
And that's why I think that at the end of the season, we're going to be looking at probably Kevin Stefanski being retained. And then I think a lot of the coaches are going to be overhauled because they're going to be the ones that fall on the sword. And
no, I don't think I don't know who's got the authority in Berea up there, right? But if Kevin Stefanski has any authority and he doesn't fire somebody, whether it's Joe Woods or the special teams coach, I forget what his name is, but if he doesn't fire Mike Prefer, Prefer came from the Vikings with Stefanski. I don't know if Joe Woods came with him as well. But somebody has to get fired mid-season, because if nobody gets fired mid-season, I think that Stefanski has to get fired mid-season. Or not mid-season, but Stefanski has to get fired at the end of the season. Somebody has to go, and we need to see some penalty for all this acceptance of loss. Because what I think is the coaches, as long as what they're doing right now is they're coaching in a manner where, you remember Moneyball, where the team manager, the A's manager, he's like, look, I'm putting the guys on the field so that I can explain it in the future, right? And I think that's what we're doing in the fourth quarter is everybody's going, we don't really have to win because we don't get punished if we lose. If we lose, it's okay. But as long as I make a decision where I can explain it in the future, I keep my job. This is cool. No problem. But there's no punishment for loss. Zero. No punishment for loss. And if there's no punishment for loss, nobody tries to win. They just try to go and coach in a way that they don't get hammered.
Yeah.
And the only person who's punished for a loss is going to be Stefanski, but he won't get punished at the end of the season. And he's not seeing the writing on the wall that somebody's got to go. And if somebody doesn't go, then at the end of the season, Stefanski's got to go.
And that's also possible. I think that personally, if a guy like Sean Payton was available, if Sean Payton could come here, I would take Sean Payton over Kevin Stefanski in a heartbeat. What now when you're saying about the the point differential and everything like that, how much of that do you put on, what percentage would you put on Stefanski, Joe Woods, and Mike Prefer?
That's a hard question to answer. All right. Because there's a number of schools of thought that you could put into this, right? One is you could say, wow, if it wasn't for Stefanski and Prefer and for Joe Woods, man, we'd be losing instead of by 2.6 points a game, we'd be losing by 8 points a game, and it wouldn't even be close, right? That's something somebody could say. But I think if you've watched the games, you've seen that the games have been actually in the Browns' hands most of the time, and we've lost them in the fourth quarter. And a couple games excepting. The Patriots game, we got clobbered, and the Ravens game, we were always playing catch up. So those two games, you could say those were not in our hands. And even maybe the first game against the Panthers, where we came back, they came back with a good drive, and then we came back and got the 58-yard field goal. That was a great moral victory, but it wasn't exactly the best coaching victory of all time.
Right.
So what I'm saying is there's a school of thought that could say, hey, we should be negative 8-point differential. We should be 2-5 or 1-6 or 0-7 with a negative 8-point differential.
Mhm.
But in all honesty, I honestly believe that we're probably capable, talent-wise, of being a positive 3, 4, 5, or 10-point differential with better coaching.
Yeah.
And I really do blame this on coaching. I don't think there might be some locker room problems here and there, probably on the defense. They probably exist. But I don't blame this on the personnel. I blame this on the coaching. And I think there's an easy, and this comparison, it's college to pro, so everything doesn't translate, but this part does, and that's the point that I'm going to make. Jim Tressel and everybody here in this audience is knows who the Buckeyes are, at least probably.
Oh, they do.
Jim Tressel was the coach in 2010. Jim Tressel won 12 games and then lost in the BCS, whatever. But he won 12 games. They were vacated. So now his season in 2010 is 0-1, which is just retarded. I hate history rewrites. If we want to do that again on a different show or whatever, I'll go on a long talk about history rewrites, but they're stupid. But at any rate, Jim Tressel won 12 and then lost the last game of the season in the BCS championship series, whatever it was in 2010.
Right.
2011, Luke Fickell comes in as interim head coach because Tressel had to get fired for the tattoo gate with whatever.
Terrell Pryor, yeah.
Yeah. And Tressel wins 12. Luke Fickell comes in with a similar team, pretty close, and goes with a whopping record of 6-7. The next year, OSU hires Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer they were banned from any bowl games. They're banned from any post-season extracurricular fun.
Mhm.
They can't go to a BCS championship. They cannot do anything, which was the same with Luke Fickell. But Urban Meyer coaches that almost the exact same team, same quarterback, and with no prospect of anything, and takes them on and goes undefeated. There is no possible way you can look at those 3 years with a very similar roster, with obviously the normal college turnover.
Yep.
But we didn't have exactly continuous recruiting at that point. In fact, the recruiting was in turmoil. So the only continuous recruiting was the fact that OSU is OSU.
Mm-hmm.
But how can anyone make the claim that coaching isn't vastly important when you can see 3 years like that between a good coach, a mediocre coach, and an excellent coach right there, 1, 2, 3, right in a row, and see what they do? And that is an impressive display of what coaching can do. And what that means in my mind is, based on the fourth quarter of the Browns that we've seen for the past 7 games, is that I think that the coaching is leading us to be losing probably the Jets game for sure, and probably a couple of the other very close games. Again, now I think coaching lost the Patriots game too, but it was a coaching matchup that we couldn't overcome. That was impossible, or at least not reasonable. But the rest of the small point differential games, I think we got lucky against the Panthers, and I think that coaching was the reason that we couldn't overcome the small 2-point, 1-point, and 3-point gaps that we have dealt with all this season. And that's why we're a negative 2.6 differential. And that's why the Browns are in a shitty position, even though we're actually a better team than our record presents.
Yeah. I mean, all good points. All good points, and I think that in the NFL and professional sports in general, coaching matters. Coaching, scheming, execution, all those decisions that go on during the game, before the game, during the week, all of those in the preseason, how the teams are organized, how meetings are run, what level of accountability that are placed on players. All of these things starts with leadership. I've worked for companies before the same way. When you have bad leaders, the company doesn't do well. But then all of a sudden you bring in some, a rock star, and everybody wants to perform for people like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
I think the team in a lot of ways are quitting on the coaches too. And I think that's sad.
Yeah, well, teams will quit on coaches because when you lose respect, you will just shut down. In fact, there's a whole new thing going on with quiet quitting in social media and in McJobs and everything else. People are just like, I don't care. I'm gonna leave anyway. Somebody else will pay me more, and I'll do the bare minimum to hang on as long as possible, and then I go.
Yeah,
and that happens in the pro leagues way before quiet quitting became a social term.
yeah.
This is just.
But like, are they? You think they're like quiet quitting on the Browns coaches?
Well, no. What I'm saying is quiet quitting has existed for a very, very long time, and it's just recently got a name to it. I don't think that it's anything new, but yeah, absolutely. There's certain players on probably every team that are quiet quitting in some sense or another.
Yeah.
Or they're just like checking out. Either they might be harassed by their teammates too much in the locker room, or they just don't care. They know they're on the bubble and they're just like, whatever, I'll just go to practice squad and go. And my wife's a doctor. I'll do something, whatever. There's people that are just give up. They don't care.
Yeah.
But you know what? The Browns are facing more than just, and I don't know that the Browns are facing a quiet quitting. I wouldn't be surprised if we lost or if there's a player or two. Like, we're probably seeing a little bit of that from Kareem Hunt right now with the news breaking out. Is he going to be quiet quitting for the moment? I don't know. Like, who knows? But there's probably some existence of that on every organization, including the Browns right now as we speak. But here's a thing that the Browns seem to get that is unreasonably unlucky.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, we all know the Browns are unreasonably unlucky. There's been statistical analysis about, like, how can you be so bad for 25 years and still and not even have one randomly good year? Like, how is it this bad? There's a lot of stuff. It's tough. But I want to talk about this season and this season only. We've lost the last 5 coin tosses in a row. Mike, what are the odds that you lose 5 coin tosses in a row?
Probably
3%.
Yeah, probably pretty low.
3%. It's unbelievable. We've lost 5 coin tosses in a row. How many of those games we've won? 1. The teams that have lost the most coin tosses are the teams that are losing the most games. I swear to God, there's something to do with our coaching where we can't adapt to something.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we win the coin toss, we take advantage and we get that first drive and we get into the end zone, except for the one where we went like 4 times and then didn't kick it, and we did not do that. But most of the time, our opening drives are really good, right? Like this season, they've been pretty spectacular overall. But when we don't get to do that opening drive the way we want to, and suddenly we're on the defensive and we're reacting to what the other team did, we don't adapt very well. And I think that's on the coaching too.
We have real Browns fans at 3%, but we've lost games where we had a 99% chance of winning.
Right.
I mean, like, how ridiculous. And I think, for the people out there who follow me on Twitter and they see like how negative I get on Twitter, just know, like, I really don't care that much about Twitter. Like, I like riling up the hornet's nest over there because I really it doesn't bother me anymore. It used to bother me like, oh, people disagree or people are like upset with me or say I don't care anymore. And I don't know. I look at it like after that Jets game, after I saw them lose with 1 minute and 34 seconds, give up 14 points, at that moment, I'm like, look, somebody's got to hold these guys accountable. The coaches won't do it. The front office won't do it. The other players won't. You know what? I'm not going to sugarcoat this anymore. They have been an utter disappointment, and I'm sick of it. I'm straight up sick of it.
I agree. Yes.
So, I mean, did we expect them to go, 8-0? Of course not. We didn't. But what we were hoping for was to beat the teams. Like, this is what I've said over and over and over again. Good teams beat bad teams, right? Even if you beat them by a point, it's still like when the Patriots were winning the Super Bowls, they beat everybody. And
they beat the Falcons with the weird, crazy comeback.
Yeah. If you're a good team, you beat bad teams. We're 2-5. We're the bad team. Okay? We are.
My position is that I don't think there's any risk or nobody's coming down the hallway in Berea when they lose. As long as they play in a manner where they can't be held accountable, you can walk into Stefanski's office and Stefanski can walk into Haslam's office and they can say, we lost by 2.6 points. It's a tough game. Things didn't go our way. We didn't do anything wrong.
Oh, but they do. They do things wrong. A lot.
Right. But they do things in a way where they can't be held or where they aren't being held accountable immediately because that particular play was a non-accountable play.
Well, somebody's going to have to be held accountable.
Somebody has to be. And
Stefanski's,
if it's not and somebody has to do it this season. It's got to be this season.
Well, no, I mean, what are you saying? Somebody's going to be fired mid-season?
Yes, mid-season. And it doesn't have to be Stefanski. Stefanski can stay because I think Stefanski's doing a pretty good job, except for he's not holding people accountable.
Well, he's a great offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
we hired an offensive coordinator to be an offensive coordinator. That's what we did. He said, I'm going to call the plays. I'm going to do all the scheming on offense. I'm an offensive coordinator, so I'm going to take on that. The problem is, as a head coach, you have to do more than just call plays on offense. You have to run every aspect of the thing, which is why initially I was sitting there going, can we not have a guy who's going to learn on the job? Can we have a guy who's actually just going to manage and give it and manage the team? We couldn't do that. But I think here's my prediction for tonight. Okay. I've been, and a lot of us Browns fans out there have been very upset with how the Browns have played in certain situations and how we have not lived up to what we should have been doing this year. And a lot of the casual Browns fans out there have been like, oh, well, it's okay. Well, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's the same old thing. This is now a primetime game. This is our second primetime game of the year. We are 2-5. And if we get humiliated tonight, this is where the whole national media is going to sit there and they're going to dog us. And to the point where all right, everybody will be like, all right, now we do have to do something. I wouldn't be surprised. It would be interesting if a guy like Joe Woods got fired, before November.
I think there has to be a firing. So it doesn't even have to be at the coordinator level. People have to get fired so people realize that there's accountability when you lose. It's not just, hey, that was a close one. Good job, everybody.
Yeah.
It's got to be somebody's got to go here. You're effing up.
A lot of the time when I get out on Twitter and I start talking about, hey, we got to fire this person, got to fire that person. Everybody's like, well, we don't have anybody behind. We have nobody backing him up. We have nobody.
Cares?
Yeah. But I mean, I turn back to like, hey, when Hugh Jackson was here and we fired Hugh Jackson, gave the interim job to Greg Williams, and then gave the interim offensive coordinator job to Freddie Kitchens, things went okay. Should Freddie Kitchens have been a head coach? No. But it went okay when Greg Williams was the head coach. We did okay that year. We almost snuck into the playoffs by accident.
Yeah, actually, Greg Williams is really good.
Yeah, Greg is fine.
Yeah, I like Greg Williams.
He's a motivating, hard-nosed guy.
Yeah, I like Greg Williams.
Yeah.
Bring him back.
I mean, it would be great if they brought in Sean Payton and Greg. I mean, Greg Williams, he did send me a message. He said, Mike, I'm a phone call away.
I'm so tired of everybody getting all PC about the NFL. Like, I get it. We don't have to celebrate badness. But if you look at every team, all teams are full of badness. All people are full of badness. I don't want to discuss what my sins of my past.
Well, let's get into it.
All teams have them.
Let's unpack that a little bit.
No, let's not.
No, hey guys, we're getting close though. We're getting close to game time. John, what's your score prediction for the game?
I don't do score predictions. 99-0.
All right, could be. I'm gonna say Browns. I'm gonna say Browns. I'm gonna say Browns 23, Bengals 30. I think we lose. I'm calling a loss tonight, guys.
If I was betting, I would bet against. I wouldn't bet on the Browns. If I was betting, I'm not betting. But if I was betting, I would.
Let's see what's the line. Browns.
But I'm optimistic. I feel that we can still win this, and I think we're due. And I think the players want to win, and that means a lot. Like, you know, if you're in a bar,
It's only a 3-point spread.
Sometimes you just want to win.
It's only a 3-point spread.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's basically it's a coin toss. It's a.
Well, we haven't won a coin toss for a while.
Yeah, but I mean, and really, since we're home field and we're down 3 points, so it's really like 6 points because they usually give 3 points to the home team. So, but it's still close. Right. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't think the Browns win tonight.
All right, I'm going Browns win. And if you are a gambler and you are on the betting sites, take this prop bet. If the Browns win the coin toss, which they won't because they can't, but if they win the coin toss, bet on the Browns scoring on the first drive. Other than that, that's my lock. That's all I got.
That's my lock. All right, guys. Thank you guys for being here. Hang out. Appreciate it. We got the games going to start in about 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to go get set up, take some antibiotics, and be ready to go. John, thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate you hopping in.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you guys very much. And go Browns.
Hey, hit that like and subscribe.
And do that too. All right. Go Browns.